Today, we're going to talk through just 3 simple steps that you can take to protect and secure your WordPress website. This is specific to WordPress because WordPress now powers 23% of the websites on the internet. And while that's not the majority, it is millions and millions and millions of sites. So WordPress is proving itself to be such a powerful and flexible platform, but that also makes it a really lucrative target. It's worth a hacker's time to figure out how to poke holes in it, because once they figure out an exploit or vulnerability, that is to say, a way to get into it, then they can go apply that to millions and millions and millions of sites. So it has become an attractive target. Not that WordPress itself is insecure, but it's just a platform, and a lot of things that you do with it can lessen the inherent security of it. So here we go. We're going to talk about these three simple things. Number one, make sure that you are limiting login attempts to your website. Because of course you're already using a secure password, right? We don't even have to talk about that. You've got a really secure password. It's not a dictionary word. It's using characters that are letters and numbers and special characters, and it's like 12 characters long. It's so secure, right? Right? Okay, if you're not already doing that, go do that. But when you are using a secure password, you also need to be limiting login attempts. So this is the easiest way for hackers to get in, is if you're not limiting login attempts. That is, they can come to your login page and just keep trying passwords and keep trying passwords. They can set up machines and robots that can try thousands and thousands of passwords every minute. It won't take very long to guess simple passwords. It doesn't take even that much longer to guess more complex passwords, which is why you have to limit the login attempts. There's a couple plugins that do this. One I talk about in one of the resources below. So if you go to the links below, you can check out that resource about how to install the plugin to limit login attempts. It's also part of the larger security plugins. So in a while, we'll talk about iThemes Security. iThemes Security is a free plugin that does limiting login attempts plus a ton more things. But if you're only going to do the basics of the basics, make sure you have a secure password, and make sure you're limiting login attempts. And all that means is that you only get so many tries before you're locked out of trying more passwords. And this is the way that you don't just let hackers keep knocking on that door until they find the secret knock that lets them in. You need to make sure that they're only going to get to try a couple times, and then they get locked out. And that just really does a lot to secure your site, because they can't keep trying passwords until they get the right one. So that's number one, limit login attempts. It's easy. It's just there's one plugin that's all it does. It's simple. Install it. Directions are in the article link below. Just do it. Okay. Number two, update your WordPress site. Even last week, vulnerabilities were discovered in the 2 very popular plugins, WooCommerce and WordPress SEO by Yoast, and they released patches. The second they find something that's not right, they update it. But if you're not applying those updates, your site is still vulnerable, and now people know about it. So if you're not actively updating your WordPress site, you need to be doing this. More than 75% of the WordPress sites out there are not running the current version. Again, this makes it a huge target for hackers, so don't be part of the 75%. Be a responsible WordPress site owner. Now update your site. A lot of people who have been using WordPress for a long time are not exactly fans of updates. Updates in the past have broken things on WordPress sites. It's true. It has happened. WordPress, though, is a much more mature platform than it used to be. It has grown in its development processes. It has also grown in the way that it handles plugins and themes and the information it makes available to those developers. So now there is a process that updates go through for WordPress core, that is the main WordPress software, and then plugin and theme developers also have very specific written standards that they're held to by WordPress, so that everything works better than it used to. Now, that's not to say that 100% of the time nothing's going to break. So before you update, you need to back up. You have backups, right? Right? You have backups. If you don't have backups, you better go click on the link below and check out my article on backups. Backups and security are the two most important things that you do with WordPress website. I don't even start doing anything on a WordPress website. I install WordPress, I install iThemes security and I configure it, and then I install Backup Buddy and I set it to run. Those are the first things that I do when I create a new WordPress site, because I want to protect it and I don't want to lose any of my work. Stuff happens all the time. So when I see that there are updates available to my site, I first make sure that a recent backup has run, and then I go install the updates. Now, if the 0.01% of the time things do not go well, I can roll back to my backup. With Backup Buddy, that's really easy. I just click a button and it rolls back to the previous version. And then I can, what I personally do is I go create a staging environment. I copy my site, I install the update, and then I go figure out what happened. If that's not something you're comfortable doing, if an update doesn't go well, then what I suggest is that you roll back to your backup and then you call your favorite WordPress developer and figure out how to troubleshoot what's going on. Because there are things that can't be predicted, like some plugins don't play nice with others. It happens. But really 99.9% of the time, updates go flawlessly nowadays, because there are better processes and controls, because WordPress is a more mature platform. Big corporations use WordPress. They need to have updated WordPress sites just like you do. They don't want stuff to break just like you don't. So have more faith in where WordPress updates are coming from now, but always back up first. So install updates, that's number 2. Number 3 is avoid the default settings. Part of the reason that WordPress gets picked on a lot by hackers is that it's really easy for people to just install, because there's a lot of default settings that just make it like a click and go. While that's great for getting up and running, it's bad for keeping bad people out. So the defaults you do not want to be using. You do not want admin as your username. You do not want a user ID in the database of 1. So if there's only ever been 1 user created on your website, that user's ID is 1. That also is not good. Number 3 is you don't want to be using WP _ as a database prefix. So these 3 things are not easy to just go fix. You can't just go change your database prefix without some heavy lifting or having iThemes security do that for you. However, if you are using admin as a username, or you only ever created 1 user in your website, the easiest thing to do is go create a new administrative user, give that user a fantastically random name. Don't make it easy to guess. Don't make it your website name. Don't make it your name. Make it something that you can remember, but that it's not going to be easy for people who are trying to get into your site to guess. So go create the new user with his unique new username and a strong password, because you're going to do that, right? And then use that as your new user. Go log in as that new user and delete your other user, because that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. That gets rid of the admin, and it also gets rid of that user that has the ID of 1. So the simplest way is just to create a new user, a new admin user, go start using that admin user and delete the other one. That's the easiest way. If you've got iThemes security, it will allow you to change the admin username, and it will also allow you to change the database number for that user. But it does that through some magic. So it also recommends that you back up before you do those things, because it's going in and changing stuff in the database. So those are the 3 things. So what have we talked about so far? 1, limit login attempts. Most important, absolute basic thing you have to do to not invite hackers to your WordPress site. 2, don't be a 75%er. Make sure that your WordPress site is updated. Back up, update. Be happy. Number 3, do not use defaults like admin as your username, 1 as your user database user ID, which you don't have control over, but you can change by creating more users, or WP _ as your database prefix, which you would need something like iThemes security to change. So there it is, 3 simple steps. If you do those 3 things, if you take just 45 minutes, walk through those 3 things, or 45 minutes to install and configure iThemes security. So let's talk a little bit more about this plugin. iThemes security is a plugin that handles a multitude of different securities for your WordPress website. I use it on every site that I've got. In fact, I actually use iThemes Security Pro because I've got a developer license with iThemes. They are also the makers of Backup Buddy. I find these two products to be indispensable. Things are changing all the time. It could be that next month somebody else comes out with a fantastic product. I'll be trying that out and checking it out. But for now, those are the two products that I really use and rely on. iThemes free plugin allows you to limit login attempts. It gets rid of all the defaults. You're on your own for updating, but it at least handles two of those three steps that we've talked about. It can be a little intimidating because there is so much. It really is the Swiss Army knife of security for WordPress. So don't be intimidated. I actually, I've had enough people ask me about this that I've recorded a video that walks you through every single setting in there and tells you about it and tells you if you should do it or not, or kind of gives you some information so you can make that choice. So that's also below. You can check that out. But if you want to just make sure everything's on lockdown, install iThemes Security, configure it. If you just install it, that's not doing enough. You actually have to walk through and configure it to be getting the benefits. And then with your strong password and your backups, you're good to go. No worries. You're protected this essential business asset and you're off to the races.